We could win this war.
We can win this war?
Okay, well, joining us from Orlando, Florida, is the man in that clip, Anthony Dream Johnson, who says he wants to abolish feminism and make women great again.
No, but it also says, with a trademark, make women great again for women. Always great.
Make women great again.
But they're going to do a 3-day seminar for women led by all men.
In mansplaining news, a 3-day conference for women led by men hopes to make women great again.
How the 22 convention will make you the greatest you ever. Raise your femininity by 500%.
First of all, how is a man supposed to tell a woman how to be the ultimate woman?
But women need to be taught how to be great again. Not my words.
We do.
Like how to land a husband, how to lose weight, how to pop out a bunch of kids.
Why do men think they need to fix the problems of women?
Well, it says the world's ultimate event for women.
In Orlando, Florida, that's going to be the scene of the crime. It's mansplaining palooza, and say no to the toxic bullying feminist dogma.
Taught by men to make women great again.
Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
The first president of the manosphere.
It's run by all men, which promises to, quote, make women great again. This course is guaranteed to raise your femininity by 500%.
Together, we will make women great again. Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing radical. Welcome back to the first ever 22 convention of Orlando, Florida, being held at 21 Summit, where together we will make women great again. Our next speaker is a very good friend of mine. He's been speaking for several years at the 21 convention since 2018, as well as our Patriarch Edition, because he's a father, and we have the fathers speak at the Patriarch Edition. He's been very influential in my life through his blog at texasdom.com. And several years ago, this is why he's known in the manosphere to the men and the patriarchs, he turned his marriage around. Very sharp turn along with his wife. But he led the way, led the charge, and made it a very happy marriage that you're going to hear about. It's going to be very interesting to y'all. You probably heard of 50 Shades of Grey. Well, you're about to hear about 50 Shades of Tex. So without further ado, please help me welcome for the first time ever to the 22 convention stage, Texas Dom.
Thank you, sir. I am used to speaking to men, and I'm used to speaking to one woman. That's about it. So I have a message I want to share with you today, and I'm calling this the healing power of dominance. That's a trigger word, right? It really triggers the heck out of a lot of people. But what I'm specifically going to talk about is how the dom sub lifestyle, which is thought to be really bad, right? How that can restore marriage or a relationship. How that can get you back on even footing. That's how you can get back with a proper set of tools to work within the relationship. How people can live their true roles that they feel inside. So without further ado, I have figured out that the very best way of talking, introducing any subject is normally to tell a story, right? If you can't see, I have a bad habit of walking around here, so just wave me out of the way, okay? I'm not shy. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you is the story of Tex and Kirby, because that's our story. And that's the only story I know, the one that means the most to me. This is a love story, deep down inside. And if I start crying, y'all got to work with me here, okay? We about threw it all away. This is after we fixed things. We're on a cruise ship and had a little bit of champagne in the disco and dancing and having fun again. And there's nothing more exciting for your kids to see mom and dad dancing and kissing and laughing. And even at home, we're ready to go to a restaurant waiting on somebody to get ready, and we got the music going, and we're kind of dancing there in the living room, and they walk out, and my son's girlfriends just melt when that happens, you know. So well, this is our story, and if you'll bear with me, I'd like to tell you a few things. Every guy's probably come in here. I've avoided the temptation of walking in here and listening to other speeches here because I wanted to have a very fresh perspective and not be influenced by anything at all. But I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm also a father, and I'm a grandfather. I'm a Christian. Okay, people say, oh, Dom sub lifestyle can't be Christ-like or whatever. Well, maybe not. Maybe it is, right? So we'll get into that in a little bit. I'm not preachy. Right? But after we fixed our stuff, which we'll talk about in great detail, and embraced this new lifestyle for us, I'm not only her husband and her lover, I'm her warrior, I'm her protector, and I'm her sir. And she probably uses that bottom one even more. She likes the warrior and the protector part as well. And that's how it resonates with her. This is not going to work for everybody in this room. It's not supposed to. It's just one alternate universe that let's explore together for the next few minutes. About year 22, maybe 21, we've been married 30-something years now. I should know exactly how many. And if she ever watches this video, I'll hear about that too, right? I think we're 31 married and 35 together, 34 together, something like that. I became married to the enemy. And she would say that too. We'd pass each other in the hallway, enemy combatants. And it wasn't that we stopped loving each other. We just didn't understand how to deal with each other. You know, the only thing she ever wanted in her life was to be a stay-home mom. And that was her goals in life. When we first got married, we were poor, and she was a stay-home mom and smart as a whip, but you know, she would do things like do school crossing guard. And at one point, she started cleaning houses part-time and just did anything to help out and bring a little income in. That's the one thing she always had, was an incredible work ethic, which I've always admired. One of the red pill things, have y'all been hearing about red pill? I'm sure. They always tell guys, oh, don't ever marry a single mom. Guess what I did? I married a single mom. So my daughter is really my stepdaughter, but I've always called her my daughter. And she is now 36. She was about 3 years old when I came into the picture, somewhere in there. So at this point, we can't figure it out, because eventually as the kids got older, my girl got into real estate. She ended up owning her own company and running a business, a very successful real estate business, had people working for her. She's a powerhouse, she's a dynamo, she's a force to be reckoned with. And the problem with that is she would come home and she couldn't check that personality trait at the door. So she came home, I'm large and in charge and doing my thing, and she comes in and we never could pass the baton off well. And so it had to be her way or it had to be my way, and we're just butting heads all the time. And neither one of us had gotten to the point that we were going to give any. And so, you know, there's only two pants legs and a pair of slacks, and we're both trying to put them on and fighting over who's going to get the second one. And so that was the predicament that we found ourselves in. And over the years, there were certain words we agreed we would never use. The D word, divorce, was a word we never used, ever. And finally, of that year, 20-something, 22, 23 years of marriage, the son was off to college, and we got two kids, 36-year-old currently daughter and 30-year-old son. And he'd gone off to college, and you know, the kids leave the house, right? And what do you got? The dog and your wife, or she's got the dog and the husband, and we're not sure which one we like more, right? So this is not her fault, it's my fault. This was a failure in leadership on my end, and I couldn't see it. I was depressed. I'd lost my dad at age 32 or 30. I was 32 or 33 when my dad died. I had no internet, I had no manosphere, I had no 21 University, I had no 21 Con, had no Twitter, I had no uncles in my life. I didn't have anybody. I had a boss who eventually became a bit of a mentor to me, but he's still your boss, right? You can't tell him everything. So I'm depressed, I'm eating too much, I'm getting fat. I was like, at one point, I think during the middle of this, I was about 330 pounds. And yeah, I'm 6'4", and I could carry it well. Yeah, right. So the old joke was, stand naked in front of the mirror. Would you want to have sex with that person? You know, I mean, it's real reality. And so finally it hit me, we're about to get a divorce. It's coming. I can feel it, I know it. And so I said, what am I going to do about it? And so I started losing weight and exercising for totally the wrong reasons. Not because I wanted just to be a better man, was because, oh man, I'm gonna be in the dating pool again. It's coming. What am I gonna do? I look terrible. You know, this is not gonna work for you. And I'm the guy that really wants to have a woman in his life. I feed off of that. I like having a partner. I like having a spouse. And so eventually, we've got grandkids now. Hallelujah. They are the greatest joy. By the way, if you have grandkids, you'll understand this statement. But the minute your first grandkid is born, your kids become almost insignificant, right? Right? You love them to death, but hey, you know what? That little baby's coming first. Y'all are just second fiddle at this point. And they hate it too. Oh, they hate it. Oh, you know, you used to do that. No, it's all about them, you know, at this point. The Christmas presents, all of a sudden, all the money starts getting spent on the little guy. So right now I have 3 grandsons by my daughter, ages 12, 10, and 7. I have that down. I know those ages. So she's going to go to Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. She's flying off for a 10 to 14-day trip. Doesn't know how long it's going to be. And we're fighting. And we're trying not to. We love each other, but we just can't get along. We're driving down a road that's very similar to this. I didn't want to go drive and take a picture and drive 100 miles to go get the picture of the road, but this is real similar. Rainy day in Houston, and we're driving to Intercontinental Airport, and I take the back roads to get in and avoid traffic, and it's one of these little 2-lane roads with this huge ditch, and it had been raining really hard, and the water was really high in the ditch. And, you know, pickup truck, and we're zooming along, doing our thing, and she says, hey, can we talk? And we're like 10 minutes from the airport. I'm like, oh crap, here it goes. I'm thinking, I'm gonna go to Alabama, I'm probably gonna stay longer than 14 days. That's what I'm expecting to hear. And she says, you know, I've been on the internet trying to figure out how to be happy, because I'm not happy, and I wanna be happy. And I know that I should be happy, because I have a lot of blessings in my life. We have nice houses, we have kids that are healthy, you know, we have vehicles, and we have all the little niceties and all that. She said, but I stumbled across this Christian women's submissive site. I'm thinking to myself, okay, okay, I understand. I'm thinking 50 Shades of Grey now a little bit, but Christian, that's weird. And she says, I think I'm a submissive. Do you know what that is? And the secret of all this is that when I thought I was going to get a divorce, I had actually downloaded 50 Shades of Grey to my tablet because, I mean, lots of women are reading this book and seemingly enjoying it. I would like to know why. I'm about to be in the dating pool again, right? So she says, I think I'm a submissive. Can you be my dominant? So my immediate reaction was, hell yeah, let's do this, right? Because I was looking for something. I didn't want this to end. She didn't want it to end. You know, like when someone's drowning and the boat comes, the lifeguard comes up with the boat or whatever, they've got the life ring with the white, with the red painted and the ropes on it, and they throw it out. I mean, she literally threw this life ring to me. I about ended the truck up in the ditch. I mean, that road was dangerous, and all of a sudden she sprung out on me, and I went, oh, what? You know, and I almost ended up in the ditch. So we got to the airport, and I'm rambling here, but I just love this part of the story. We got to the airport. I parked in the long-term parking type deal, and I walked her up with her bags. And we were talking more after, you know, as we were moving that last 10 minutes down the road. I'm like, yeah, we can get into this. And so in Intercontinental Airport, they had this little Starbucks outside of security, and we were early because I'm a freakazoid about being early to the airport, right? Like 2 hours early kind of guy. And we sat there at the Starbucks and had a cup of coffee. And we got up and checked her bags, and the lady said, oh, you're walking her in to make sure she gets on the plane, huh? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know. I'm like, no, I'm walking her in because I love her and I want to make sure I take care of her. Make sure she gets here. I fly all the time, she never flies. Airports are scary places sometimes, especially big ones like the one in Houston. And so we sat there and we had coffee. And at the end it was time, and probably one of the most honest, gut-wrenching conversations you can possibly imagine two people have had after 20-something years of marriage. And we ended with a kiss as I got her to security. We hadn't even gotten up out of the chairs yet. And it was, without a doubt, the most passionate kiss we had had in 10 years. So I got her on the plane. It's one of those things like she's in the security line and she keeps looking back at me and waving, and I'm waving to her and doing all that stuff. all that cutesy shit you see in the movies. We're doing it. We're those people. And she got on that airplane. And so off she goes to Alabama. And I'm left to go home, take care of the dog. And so what that gave us was literally about 2 weeks apart from each other, to we could each research what she had asked me to do. And then once I started researching the Dom sub lifestyle, I thought, wow, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. She's expecting me to step up in every way possible. And they say man up. Yeah, they should expect me to Dom up. Okay, she's wanting me to take care of things. She's wanting me to not have, she doesn't want to have to worry about a lot of this stuff that's been going on. Her thing was, look, I'm tired of trying to beat my head against the wall running the show here. I need to be able to trust you that you can run the show for us, and I can just be a girl. That's all I've ever wanted to be. She doesn't need to work anymore. She's about to semi-retire. She goes, I want to bake cookies and plant flowers in the backyard and take the dog for a walk at 10 in the morning. I don't want to work. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of trying to do all this stuff. And we don't have a problem if women want to work. God bless you, go work. And she did, and she financially contributed to our family's success. And that is no laughing matter. But she and I paid the price for that. So she said, I just want to be a girl. That's all I ever wanted to be, was a stay-home mom, and now the kids are gone and that kind of thing. So, she likes to sit down and color pictures with the grandkids. That's fun for her. And in the world of BDSM, right? Those are scary 4 little letters, and DS happen to be 2 of those letters in there. This is our lifestyle choice. But in the words of, but in that whole DS thing, it's a scary thing for people to embrace. And so we had a chance to be apart from each other and to learn some terms and to do some research and figure some things out. What we found is that there's what we call a total power exchange. And that's scary too, right? But she's going to give me all of her power, quote unquote. And that's going to trigger the hell out of some of y'all. But she wants to. It's her choice, right? And she says, look, I'm going to turn it over to you. You lead, I'll follow. There can only be one bus driver on that bus. And we were both yanking on that wheel all the time, trying to make this thing happen. So she said, look, let's just try this. And I'm like, I'm game. How many months are we going to give it? She goes, I don't know. Let's just do it. Let's see how it works out. And so after a year plus, we were happy again. When I picked her up back at the airport, I had snacks in the car. It's a 2-hour drive home for us. We live outside of Houston. Had snacks in the car, had one of her favorite stuffed animals in the dashboard. I just did all that silly little romantic stuff that, I always say girls are romantic. Guys are way more romantic when they want to be, right? So we did all that stuff, picked up, came back, and kind of got into our life. And the first question that always comes up, because there's a really lack of excellent resources on the internet for this stuff. There's a lot of sex stuff, right? And in the world of kinky sex, we're like the Diet Coke of kinky sex, like one calorie, 0 calorie, not quite kinky enough type of thing. And there's some people that are way out there, right? What we had for us was a re-engagement in the bedroom. We hadn't been having sex for a while, which is very, very frustrating for both of us because she really likes sex and I do too, but we couldn't like each other enough to make that happen. And I never understood what it took to really get her where she needed to be, so that I finally learned if I start at 7 a.m. in the morning with some jokes and some kisses and a little coffee here and there, by the time I get to 8 p.m. at night, we're gonna have some good times, right? But in the old lazy fat me would think, oh, I deserve sex. I'm her husband. But you're not acting like her husband. You're not acting like her man. You're acting like a little boy. You're acting like I'm gonna knock this over eventually. Y'all gonna laugh, okay? I'm acting like another kid in the family. And that's the curse men are under right now because they don't freaking know any better. And women are frustrated. And in my opinion, you can back me up or shoot me down, whatever you want to do. Women are amazing, especially moms are amazing in one way that I respect above all else. If the husband has dropped the ball and he's drinking beers every day or on the weekends, watching football, 3 games on Sundays and 2 college games on Saturday, and then there's a Sunday night game that's got to come on that I can't miss and all that stuff, and he's DVRing it so he can watch more during the week, and he's slamming down the beers and the Jack Daniels and all that, the family starts falling apart. And where women are amazing is they pick up the ball because their kids are not going to get screwed in all this. You know, they're not going to let this family fall apart, at least strong women. And I think most women are strong, most moms are strong in that regard. A lot of respect for motherhood. And stay-home moms, I think, are probably the hardest job in the world. You can go be a corporate executive at some Fortune 500 company. I'm sure it's stressful and all that, but you get to come home and, you know, and take your shoes off and try to put that away for a while. Stay-home moms, 24/7. It's hard work, you know, and I recognize that and I respect that a lot. So it's not just kinky sex. Of course, we just talked about this. I got a little ahead of myself. The fastest selling paperback book of all times, ever. And they're still selling copy after copy, hand over fist. There's a reason why. People want something more than they have. And this is, I call it chick porn, you know. I read about halfway through it and I read all I needed to read type of thing. The issue with this is twofold. The blessing, it brought the dynamic, it brought the discussion out in the open. America was discussing it, right? Some good, some bad, but at least it was now not as socially rejected. Now it was more of that Hollywood bringing in all their kinky, crazy stuff, ideas out to destroy society anyway. This was, in their mind, this was probably just one more of them. The curse was that if you've ever read this or watched the movies, the character, the male character in it is totally screwed up. It does not represent dominant sub-lifestyle whatsoever anyway, in my opinion. He's just a screwed up dude. And that's the emphasis of the story. He's all screwed up and she's gonna save him, type of thing, right? That's the curse, because people always think it's this and it's not. Hey look, the sex is great, it's the icing on the cake. Okay, it is absolutely amazing. Silly stuff, right? I'm not talking about like crazy stuff. We talk about kinky sex, we always say 3 words: safe, sane, and consensual. And everything in this dom-sub relationship is consensual. We both want to do it this way. This is how we want to live our lives. I don't care what you do at home. I don't care what you do behind your bedroom door. It's none of my concern. I could not give a damn. It doesn't affect me one way whatsoever. This is how we choose to do our thing. But we also use names that people may not recognize. She goes by Curvy. She's not really fat. She just has some like really beautiful curves. And so, you know, we've actually taken on those nicknames in real life because the neighbors next door won't understand this. We live in a conservative small town in Texas, right? So, like I said, we don't want to advertise this to the world because people think it's all sorts of things that it's really not. What it is, and you may have heard something like this week so far, sexual polarity, the attraction of the opposites. In a magnet, you got a positive side of a magnet and a negative, and you put 2 magnets together and the 2 positive sides are going to rebel, but a positive side and a negative side are going to attract each other. Masculine energy, feminine energy are meant for each other. I firmly believe that. I let my girl be feminine however she wishes to be. I don't tell her how to be feminine. I don't know how to be feminine, thank God. And she doesn't tell me what to do to be masculine, but when we're living who we really are and how we really identify, caveat, I know couples where she's the dom or dame and he's the sub. That's a little weird to me. Right? It's not the way I think. It's not the way I think. And I think it's a very, very small percentages of dom-sub relationships. So it's not always gender specific, and I don't judge. I mean, like I said, it's weird to me. It doesn't make sense to me, but like I said, what they do behind their own bedroom doors, I don't care. It doesn't affect my life whatsoever. But this is the secret to the whole thing for the dom-sub life. The secret for the man is, and the woman, is that man's got to be dominant, and I'm going to keep referring to men as dominants because that's how I think. You know, dominant, not domineering. No one wants to be with a domineering asshole. No one does. And you've known plenty in your life. I've known plenty in my life. You know, all this their way or the highway, and they're mean and they're hateful and they're not kind. Kindness is such a big deal in life. whether a man's living this lifestyle or any other. I preach to these guys across the way. You need to be kind, not weak, not nice, but kind. Have kindness in your heart. Weak women are not very good submissives. They really aren't. They're terrible at it. Because weak women, everybody says, oh, she's submissive, she's just weak, and this, that, and the other. No. Submission's her choice. It's not abuse. I always point that out. It's not abuse. And people would like to say, oh, that's just abuse, and you're psychologically abusing her. She came to me with the idea, folks. Okay? And oh my God, we had belonged to an online Dom sub-community where the Doms were on one website and the subbies were on the other. And 80% of those guys that I interacted with, their women brought this idea to them. Okay? Guys aren't dreaming this up, girls are. So for her, and she said this, and I'm representing her here, right, as well. And that's a big responsibility. I can go in there and I'm doing that to a certain degree. I represent my family and all that, but I'm representing her to you all in certain ways, and I'm probably not going to get it all right because I'm a guy, right? I don't know everything as far as from her perspective, but she's done some writing and I appreciate it. But for her, it's the freedom from the feminist imperative. I mean, I was born in '61. I'm the very first of the millennial if you look at one chart. And she's the same age. So we watched the 60s happen. We watched the hippies. We watched the free love as little kids. And then the 70s hit and the second wave feminism kicked in. And there weren't bad things there. I mean, equal rights, equal pay, yeah, why not, right? Glass ceiling, break it, whatever. I mean, I didn't really see a lot of harm in that because I was a 10, 12-year-old kid. It made sense to me. Why would you treat them differently? It didn't make any sense. But it hadn't gotten radical yet. Not really, not really, really radical. But what they did start doing, they started telling little girls in the 1970s that you got to go to college and you got to get a job and you got to start competing with your brothers and you got to start doing all these things. And that started really getting pounded. That's when it really kind of, in my opinion, really started to begin. That's not what she wanted to do, right? But that's what she was expected to do. And so a lot of us don't live our true selves. A lot of us let societal expectations dominate and dictate who we are and what we do. And the sooner we can all break free of that, the happier we're all going to be. So in the Dom sub, my little education thing, but I like this. There are several foundation pillars in this world. One of them's trust. That's as nasty a picture you're going to see, I promise. Okay. When I gave the presentation last October to the guys, there were some little bit more erotic pictures, but guys are all visual in that regard. But it's trust. Trust is the key to this whole thing. I'll ask men in that other room. I'm going to ask you too. If you have a spouse or an LTR or whatever, could you hand them your cell phone for 5 hours and walk away and just go take a nap? Could you do it? I can. I always challenge the men in the other rooms. If you can't hand your wife your cell phone for 5 hours and go out and play golf or something, not even think about it, you got a problem. What are you hiding? You chatting with somebody on Facebook you shouldn't be chatting on? I got off Facebook. You know why? All of a sudden, girls I went to high school with started reaching out to me when I started losing weight. And once we got into this, that's over. I killed off the Facebook account. I'm still on Twitter a lot because I got on for Trump back in 2015 and really got serious about it. So I love the interaction on Twitter. I'm very, very active on Twitter. But trust is the thing. And as we all know, it takes a long time to build trust and it takes about 1 second to lose it. We all know. And building that trust back takes a while. It takes a lot of hard work and both people have to be open to the idea. So I can trust her with anything. I can tell her anything that's going on. I don't spew all my troubles to her because I can handle them. And what am I going to do? Just make her nervous, make her upset? I don't want to do that to her. Important stuff though she knows about, always. Important decisions. People, she didn't get to make a decision. Oh hell yeah, she's a 49% part of that decision, and she defers to me to make the final judgment. But she's my most trusted advisor. She's brilliant. She can't spell worth a hell. Spell check is her friend, but boy, everything else she does really, really well. She can read people that I can't. I'll be in a business meeting and I've got dynamics of situation going on, and I'll come home and tell her about it. And she'll tell me whose motivations or what's going on. It's like having this fly on the wall, you know, and if she can tell me what's going on, it helps me see things that I can't see. She fills those gaps that I have. And so that's a beautiful thing. But the trust for me is the coolest thing of all, because I don't have to worry about her shaming me for things I like to do or things I want to do or ideas that I have, and vice versa. I don't shame her for anything. And we'll talk about that some more in just a second. The communication. This is the big thing that took us a while to figure out. I used to think I could read minds. How could she do that? She must know how I feel about that. She must know I want to do that, but she's just disrespecting me. And you know, then I thought, have I ever told her what I really wanted? Has she ever told me what she really wanted? Well, if he loved me, he would have done this. Really? How am I supposed to know? I'm a dumbass. You have to come up and talk to me. Tell me what's going on here. I cannot. And so we both agreed early on, we can't read minds. We suck at it. So we're going to have to talk. One of the things that was very successful early on is that I was blessed enough to have the job that I was home a lot. I traveled a lot too, but when I'm home, I worked out of my house. Like everybody is these days, right? It's freaking awesome. We'd have coffee in the morning together. And you know, it was check-in time for us. And we would sit down. I always woke up earlier, so I'm always like chatty Cathy at that point. I've had 3 cups of espresso and I'm ready to rock, and she's just waking up, poor thing. But we don't talk about grandkids, kids, jobs, money, broken water pipes. We talk about the relationship, which is awkward to do at first, because the subject tends to want to delve off into something else, but you got to kind of corral it back in, and we both have that right to corral the conversation back. And so we talk about how we're doing and things that are bothering her. I run a boat in Galveston Bay. I like to go fishing a lot. And one of the things you'll notice if you ever driven a boat, you start to veer off course a little bit. I'm trying to go here, and I'm going here. And the longer I wait, the further and further I get. By doing our daily check-ins, we course correct. Back in line. No, come on, back in line. And we both do it. And it's not just her, it's me, right? We figure out what's going on. And I had a friend tell me one time, you know, if you're asking the right questions, what you're going to find is she has all of your answers. If things aren't going right, like I said, if my relationship isn't working the way I expect it to today, I go stand in front of the mirror for a few minutes and I say, okay, what have you done? What aren't you doing? What need does she have that you're not fulfilling such that she's not acting the way you expect her to, or want her to, or ways she really has done in the past? I got to take the blame for a lot of this stuff, right? So most men can't see beyond that. Not my fault. She's a bitch, right? No, you're a terrible leader. You're a shit person as far as trying to be a man. You're a terrible father. You know, no wonder she resents you. No wonder she can't stand you. You know, no wonder she wants to get a divorce. 80% of divorces are filed by women. I wonder why, right? I know some group of guys in the world out there say, oh, it's hypergamy, and they're always trading up trying to find a man with more money and all that. No, the truth of the matter is maybe there's a small percentage of people that do that, but the truth of the matter is the guy just sucks. And she's had enough. She figures maybe she'd be better off on her own. I don't know. Other guys will come in here and talk about divorce and talk about all these things. I can't experience divorce because I've never been there. I don't know anything about it. I don't want one. I've heard horror stories from both sides of the camp. I watched my daughter go through a divorce that was ugly, and I never want to be a part of anything like that. So the communication aspect, the trust, we have trust, we've got communication. And that's key. We got to talk it out. You know, I can tell she's bubbling up a little bit inside. I mean, y'all think, Anthony stood up here, we say fix their marriage, greatest marriage ever. I got news, folks. It still does this. It used to do this. Right now, we're just kind of doing a little sine wave this way. So we have these ebbs and flows. And so I know her so well, I can see her body language and stuff, and I know she's uptight about something. So we may just call time out. Let's go sit down and talk for a few minutes. We'll do what we got to do. This is an interesting one. Last year in October, if that video ever comes out for the guys, I did a lot of this stuff, but there was a study a book came out, Tell Me What You Want, and tell me what you really want, something like that. It was a sex study that was compiled and put together into a book. It was done by some guy named Dr. Justin Late-Miller at the Kinsey Institute, which is one of these sexual think tank places. But one of the really bizarre things that hit me was that the demographics were typical 25 to about 55, 60 demographic range. All Americans, and they all had internet access, which means they had a reasonable degree of affluency to be able to afford a device of some sort of computer or phone, and they had internet access, right? So we just narrowed down that demographic, right? They, did men and women and what their fantasies were. And I won't go super deep into it, but bondage, 80% of the women in that survey had some sort of fantasy about bondage, right? A lot of kinky stuff. Wouldn't admit it to anybody, but that they admitted it to this survey. And this was like 35,000 responses or something. It was a significant number of people that responded back. I think it took this guy like 3 years to compile all the data. But the other one that came up was intimacy, passion, and romance, right? And both sides, both men and women, yearn for this in high percentages. We all want that intimate connection. My God, we are in the swipe program. You guys hook up and girls hook up. I'm too old for this, but they hook up on the Tinder app, right, or the Bumblebee or whatever the other ones are, and they swipe left, they swipe right, they hook up, they have sex, they don't see each other again. If you don't know anybody very well, you're not going to get intimate with them. You might have some passion for a brief moment. You might have a little short-term fling of a romance. You're not going to have any intimacy. And to me, great sex is all about intimacy. It's about knowing your partner. It's about the whole dynamic there. And again, I'm going to keep this very respectful because I want to imagine my wife would be sitting here listening to another man talk, and I want to keep that thing as very respectful. And so I'm not going to get into a lot of the sex stuff, which may disappoint one or two of y'all in here, but is what it is. It's a great book out that's been out for forever. It's called Love and Respect. It's written by a guy with his initials are EE. It's like Emmerich or something like that. It's on Amazon. And this is like the beginner's manual to Dom sub life, I swear. It's written by a Christian pastor. It's used a lot in premarital counseling. And the psychologist person that I went to, and when I was miserable and thinking divorce, I was going to see a lady, a few towns over, because I didn't want anybody to know. And I got some good psychotherapy and discovered some traumas and some things and did some EMDR and worked through a bunch of shit from my childhood and reasons why I was doing a lot of some of the stuff that I was doing. And in fact, that lady is so awesome that she's actually seen our son and she's actually seen my wife for some stuff as well. So it's kind of like it's been a great family experience to get a little help because my computer's broken. I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to take it to a computer guy. If my heart starts messing up, I'm going to go see my cardiologist. If I'm not thinking right and my emotions are jacked up, I'm going to go see somebody that can help me fix it. I'm not shy. I'm not perfect. I know that that help is out there, right? So this book, Love and Respect, is so unique in some regards. The basic premise is men need to be respected by their women and women need to feel love from their men. Not saying men don't want to be loved, but given the choice, men would rather be respected, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. My wife didn't respect me. I didn't respect myself. And I quit loving her and doing things I used to do for her because she wasn't treating me the way I thought I should be treated. And so she's doing the same. And we got this negative spiral. We're going down, and we're going down tubes, and at the bottom of that toilet bowl is called divorce. And we're heading in that direction. We're spiraling down. I read this book, recommended by the therapist lady I was seeing, and what it taught me, again, there's some Christian. The pastor wrote it. It's not heavy religious, but he did have some stuff in there on women submitting to their husbands and some things like that, which is why I call it the Dom sub primer. But the premise was one of you has to have the guts to break the cycle. If you break and put the brakes on, I may not feel like she deserves to be loved because I'm mad at her or whatever, but you know what? I'm going to love her as much as I can anyway. I've got to step outside of my own anger, outside of my own mental BS, and say, I married her for a reason. I'm going to love her regardless of how she treats me. Now, if the woman reads the book first, she's like, look, this SOB isn't deserving of my respect. But she starts to read the book, she goes, you know, if I want to break this negative spiral, I'm going to have to be the one brave enough to say, put the brakes on. I'm going to respect him and show him some respect, even though it's going to kill me to do it, right? And then what happens is that she started seeing me doing my thing. She took the book and read it. Now we got both players trying to make things better. That was part of our getting fixed before the whole Dom sub stuff came up. But hell of a resource. And if you know young people that are about to get married, one of my friends in the Young Man, 22, Fraternity of Excellence, which I belong to, which is a group of men trying to strive to be better husbands, fathers, and all that kind of stuff. And it's Zach, if you're going by Zach Small now, he's one of the speakers over here. He runs the group. So we got 15 of us are here at this meeting right now. So one of these young men's getting married. He's Catholic and doing the whole big Catholic wedding, wants to have 85 kids and all this stuff. And I don't know how they do it. I gave him the book, I mailed it to him. I had Amazon ship it straight to him. I said, I want you to read this before you go any further. And he thanked me. Every guy I've given this book to has thanked me, right? And it's like 12 bucks hard copy or something, and I buy 2 or 3 copies. I've been known just to give them away to people because I can afford it, and I know they're so damn good at fixing relationships. If, that's the key, right? Here's the big if. Both of you gotta want it eventually, right? If you're doing everything you can as a woman to try to fix your marriage and your husband doesn't give a crap, or vice versa, the husband's trying to do everything he can to fix things and she's mentally checked out, that's a difficult road to walk. That's probably not gonna work. Now, eventually the other party might come around if you've got enough patience to wait it out. What's your happiness worth, right? So it's everybody's situation. Guys talk to me all the time. I'm like, hey, it's up to you. I mean, you love her, and how much time are you gonna, work on trying to make this right? Because I'm telling you, it took us a couple of years, and we got lucky. If she had not stumbled across that website and figured out who she really was inside, I'm over there talking about divorce rate and how bad women are. Women's bad, don't get married and all that stuff, right? I'm making a joke about it, but there's guys out there that are like that, and they piss me off because just because they sucked at marriage doesn't mean everybody else is going to suck at marriage. I'm good with it, right? There are pitfalls in all this. You're going to go along and you're going to be this honeymoon stage at first. If you ever try this, you're going to be this honeymoon stage. The sex is going to be amazing. It's going to be daily. It's going to be multiple times in the day sometimes. You're so relieved to be back together and to feel that physical connection again. That intimacy is back. And eventually things are going to start to get rough. I'm dogging guys here. They're going to watch this video one day online. They're going to shoot me. But most of the guys get lazy. They go, oh man, I get sex anytime I want now. I'm a dom. Yeah, but you didn't pay the light bill and the guy came and knocked on the door asking for money, or your car got repoed. Or you're still sitting on the couch now. You stopped watching football for a while and drinking beer every weekend, but now that everything's working good in the bedroom, you're back to watching football again. You're not following through and keeping the changes going. That's on them. So needless to say, that frustrates their sub. And eventually, a lot of them just quit doing it. They're done. She's like, look, I've done as much of this as I can. I've given him his sex as many times as he's wanted, and he's still not making any changes. And we're not using sex as a weapon. It's not a payoff. It's not a reward. Never, ever. And my wife and I talked about that when we fixed our stuff. Sex is never off the table, but a smart man knows when his girl is stressed out and doesn't want to have sex. I mean, who wants to have sex if your girl's hurting? She's in physical pain, or she's anguished over something. That's just stupid, right? There's so many years left to have amazing sex. Why would you want to have mediocre sex she's having a bad day? And as her husband, as her dominant, her sir, you got to figure that out. You're supposed to be smart. Figure this stuff out. People talk about rules. You watch 50 Shades, they have a contract with these 85,000 rules and all that kind of stuff. We got 3 rules. I'll go over 2 of them because one of them's personal. But the first rule we have is we never speak to each other in anything less than a respectful tone. Does that always happen? No. Sometimes I lose it, sometimes she loses it, but the other party quickly reminds us to come back, hey, you know what, we're really breaking rule 1, right? Like, okay. Yeah, you are. The other one is when I call her by her pet name, which is not Kirby, I expect her to look at me and say, sir, with a little question mark inflection at the end. The reason why she's so super busy doing things, and sometimes I'll say something to her and she's so wrapped up in something else, but it's important. And I use that for times that are important where I really need her full attention. And she's aware of it, and she's cool with it. And you know, and what she really likes though is when I do it in public, because she'll, sir, you know, and people around, just that triggers the hell out of them, right? Oh my God, it really does, it really does. Or she'll say, I belong to Sir Tex. You don't belong to anybody, girl. You know, you're a woman, you belong to your, she's like, no, I belong to him. He owns me, type of thing, right? And she does it to tweak them though. She's gotten to the point now, she knows what words trigger, and sometimes depending on who she's talking to, she wants to trigger that person. We'll skip the third rule. I tell guys all the time on this one, complacency kills. Like I said, the guy goes back to drinking beer. He goes back to sitting there watching sports ball. And trust me, I love watching baseball. I love my Astros. I love it. But I also know there's time and place for everything. There's time and place to take care of your relationship, your family, your job, your business, and all that. And then you can have a couple hours off, smoke a pipe, watch the game, that kind of thing. It's fine. Just don't do it every single night. And don't take up 12 hours on a Sunday. It's ridiculous. This is a biggie. I'm getting a little bit out of the DS thing here for a second. But gray divorce is a huge deal right now, and it's growing. People over 50 are getting divorced in record numbers now. In fact, the first time divorces for people over 50 is rates doubled. This data's about 4 years old. No telling with COVID, my God, everybody had to be together, right? We couldn't travel, we couldn't go anywhere. We were stuck in the same room with each other. I bet divorce rates, we're gonna find this out later, are gonna be super high this year in 2020. But 1 in all 4 divorces a couple of years ago were people over 50. And they were first time marriages. Okay, it's a thing. Because why? Because the man quit having a mission. He had no reason to get up other than just try to make a little bit of money, maybe go coach some t-ball, maybe do his thing. The kids became the mission. Men have to have a mission in life. They have to have something greater than themselves that they're working on. I preach this all the time. And my mission right now, which I didn't discover for a number of years, is to help these guys in that other room over there. Help them not make the same mistakes I made. I'm the old guy, I'm 59. They're all 30, 40. There's potholes waiting for all of us out there, and if I can help them avoid a few, that's my mission. If I can throw them ropes that give them a reason to pull out of their hole, that's why I do what I do. 100% why I do what I do. In fact, I started the blog because my girl wanted to start a website for submissives, and I didn't know how to do WordPress, so I started the blog just so I could figure out how to do it all before I tried to help her. The next thing I got to writing, and 3 or 4 years later, I've written over 100 and something articles now, and I just keep doing it, just keep cranking them out because it feels good. It makes me, it gets all the demons in my head just get out on, and I write them all out. But we want to avoid that. I get asked a lot about first steps. Let me back up a half a step because I keep looking at the clock and getting nervous. Trust, communication, intimacy, love, respect. Those are those 5 pillars of DNS. Those are the things that we fall back on. Those are the tools that we use to course correct. Those are the tools that we use to keep our marriage on track, to keep our relationship, to keep our love affair going. It's a love affair. People don't want to talk about that when they're a guy. I love this girl. I always love, that's the reason we're still here. We didn't stop loving. I was dying in a hospital during the bad old days. I had flesh-eating bacteria in my leg. I had $1 million life insurance, I'm not a dumbass, right? And she saved my life twice within 10 days. I was bleeding out in the hospital one time and she was the only one that caught it, almost too late. And then when it first happened, they had drawn a little red line across the infection and said, that red line, if the red skin goes above that Sharpie marker, get your butt back in here. And I was like in total denial. Nah, that's fine. She's like, no, we're going. Twice she saved my life. I'd be dead right now. Almost lost my leg. She saved my leg. They were going to cut it off. 4th or 5th surgery, and said, we're just going to amputate the leg. She's like, no. He's not that, give it one more try. Clean up one more. If you have to amputate it, come back and talk to me first. And one of our buddies is a doctor in town, he's a physical therapy guy. He said, I can build him a new leg. Have that little kangaroo leg thing and all that. But she said, no, I want the man to keep his leg, right? So she saved my leg and saved my life. I mean, she must have loved me. She met me, I was a stupid school teacher. I made $14,000 a year, plus an extra $3,000 a year for coaching 3 varsity sports. I was Daddy Warbucks, right? So she wasn't a gold digger because they didn't have no damn gold. So we know what it was like to be poor and all that. So the first steps, how to get started. You study up a little bit on what it's all about and ignore the smut and ignore the trash and try to learn a little bit more about what DS really is. Because like I said, the sex is fun. Dude, you can be as kinky as you want. You can tie up, you can flog, do the whole flogger thing. It's fun stuff for both people or you don't do it. You have safe words where, hey, she's tied up or doing something like that and something's uncomfortable, she calls red. We're done. You know, or hey, slow down a little bit, she calls yellow. Or do that a little harder, she calls green, right? But for her, it's fun. She enjoys it. Her orgasms are way better than they used to be. And this is going to be a bit of a humble brag, but I'm actually bragging on her. I mean, she's had 20 orgasms in less than an hour before. And who doesn't like that? I'm all over that, right? I'm a guy, right? One and done. Like, well, wait till the end. You know, that's the way that goes. But I'm envious, trust me. 20, 15, 10, maybe on a bad day, 8. I'm all at that too. So we have a saying in the manosphere. Everyone wants to rise from the ashes and be that phoenix, but damn near no one wants to set their ass on fire. We agreed. Back in the 1600s, Cortez landed on the shores of Mexico with a couple of ships and his men all got off. We're going to go find the lost city of gold or whatever the hell they were doing. Cortez burned his ships. Burned them. We ain't going home, guys. We're here. Let's go find us. So Miss Kirby and I have agreed. We have burned our ships. We know there's no going back. And we've had this conversation. If the DS doesn't work for us, we're probably going to divorce one day. We're not going to go back to living as enemy combatants. What does that do? That's a reality. That's a slap of reality, right? There's a little bit of pressure there, but it forces us all to be on our A game. And no one's going to have their A game every day. I mean, she's been sick a little bit lately. I don't expect things out of her. She's not feeling good, you know? But it forces us to consider what life would be like without each other, without this lifestyle that we've come to embrace. So the door swings both ways. We've acknowledged either one of us can walk out at any time. And that, believe it or not, is freedom for both people. I've told her, I want you here, baby. I want you to live in my house and be my girl and all that. I said, but if you leave, I'm gonna be fine. And she believes the exact same thing. That sounds cold, right? Oh my God, you want me to leave? No, but I also don't want you to carry the burden that if you do leave, I'm gonna fall apart and become an alcoholic or a wino or try to go shoot Trump or something, you know? I want to take that burden off of her. It'll be fine. I'll hang out for a while, figure out what to do. Probably start dating again, find me a new sub. Because I'm not going back at all. And she isn't either. She won't settle for it either. She has come to love this so much. To be able to do girly stuff. I mean, good Lord, we're at family events, right? And she comes and serves me food at family, like we're all sitting around watching the Super Bowl on the couch, and she'll come down and serve me a plate and make sure my drink is full. Because she's a service person, number one. She loves to serve. She really just, it feeds her soul, right? And I love it too. Or she'll walk up and hand me my beer or whatever, you know, she'll kiss the rim of the glass and hand it to me, which is kind of a Gorian master-slave thing. That's a whole nother talk. We have flavors, we play things. We play master-slave sometimes, mostly bedroom. We do things outside, we role play a little bit. And, but my brothers-in-law, who have wives that sort of still detest them, they're watching this. She's bringing me food, she's making sure my drink is full. They're like, man, I married the wrong sister, what's up? You know, what are you, they look at me like, what are you doing? You know, and it's all good, we're just hanging out, love each other. So this is her collar. Collar's a big deal to her. It makes her feel special. It's a piece of jewelry she doesn't wear every day. She actually went down to the PetSmart and had the little tag, you probably can't read it, but it says, owned by Sir Tex. She had that made. And said, would you please attach this to my collar, is that okay? Absolutely. It's fun for her. like I said, we have our dynamic. We do it the way we do it, what we do. There's no one way to do this dom sub thing. I want to let you know that. There's people out there who say, hey, you gotta do it this way. This is the right way to do it. BS. You do what works for you. If you ever decide you want to play this game, you want to go down this road, you figure out what works for you, what doesn't work, jettison the stuff that doesn't work, read all the ideas that you can possibly find, to embrace the stuff that does work. And you'll find that you'll probably be pretty happy. Okay, so she really is. She's my most cherished possession. And she loves it when I say that. Loves it. Because we both read the old science fiction gore books, and in the world of gore, it's like a counter-Earth, crazy stuff, 35 books or whatever, but men are totally in charge of that planet. Women are either free women or they're slaves. There's no woman in charge type of thing. And it's a very masculine series of books that probably were written for 15-year-olds back in 1968. But it's, a lot of people have loved these books, and so it's all master-slave stuff, and it's all fun stuff. It's role play, guys, gals, it's role play. She's not my slave. I don't tie her up at night to the bed, right? I mean, it's well, sometimes, but not every night, okay? But I'm saying, so the collar is part of the Gorian thing, but she is my most prized possession, and as such, I don't share her. My God, people think it's all about, what a guy on Twitter accused me of brainwashing her so we could have orgies every weekend. I'm 59 years old, come on. And first of all, we're also Christian. We believe in God. You know, we go to church. We love it. And I asked her, I said, Kirby, did you not get the memo about the orgies? I didn't get them either. So, why my clicker's not working so good. Oh yeah, I got one more thing I'll tell guys. I live the Mike Pence rule. Y'all know what that is? Mike Pence is our vice president. He's a very staunch Christian and believes in certain things, and one of those things is going to sound very foreign to feminists. He doesn't have meetings with women by himself. He doesn't go to dinner with women by himself. He doesn't put himself into the appearance of impropriety in any way, shape, or fashion. I follow that rule. I have since we started this thing. I didn't always follow that rule. I had friends, old high school friends, flames on Facebook and all that. I just, for a little bit, but I was that guy that didn't want her to have my phone. My gosh, you got on my Facebook account, saw me flirting with some girl. Oh no. That's not what a man does. A man's not supposed to act like that. Little boys act like that. Chumps act like that. The Mike Pence rule is good. So one of the aspects of that, and the reason I bring this up, if you have questions and things that you would like more information on Dom Sub, it's easy to find my email address. I'm at texasdom.com. I got a contact page. Super easy to find me. If you send me an email with a question, I will relay it to her. I will politely let you know, is it okay if I relay it to her? And if you say yes, it goes to her. If you say no, I just trash it. I'm not going to reply back anymore. Because not that I don't respect you, but I respect her more than you. And I'm not going to be putting myself in that situation. Oh, I'm just helping her. What is that? Okay, yeah, I'm 59, I'm an old guy. What's that going to lead to? Probably nothing. But the appearance of impropriety is unacceptable. And I tell these young men this all the time. Why are you putting yourself in that situation? Because people love to gossip and they love to talk and they love to tear your ass down any chance they get because they don't want you to do better than them. By God, you can do just as good as them, but as soon as you start to get a little bit better, they're going to yank you back. That crab in the bucket effect. They're going to pull you back in. Closing thoughts. One of the other things that I have found that I tell the guys about, and I also think it's important for y'all to have your hormone levels checked. Women are better at that than men. Make sure your estrogen's where it's supposed to be, your progesterone's where it's supposed to be. It's hugely important, especially as we age. We naturally lose some of that stuff. As my family doctor told my girl one time, he said, would you if you don't want to take this, you're probably going to have like a mustache and stuff at some point, And she was like, oh my God, let's fix this kind of thing. And he was teasing with her, but she's got her hormones fixed. I got my testosterone stuff fixed as well. And are there any magic bullet benefits to this stuff? No, not magic bullets. You still got to put in the work. You still got to exercise. You still got to eat right. If you want to have low body fat percentage, a shot of testosterone in your leg once or twice a week isn't going to do it. But if you're depressed, if your man is depressed, I can't speak to women on this too much because I don't really understand how y'all think all the time, thank God. But for me, I was good. It fixed my depression. It gave me more energy. It got my ass off the couch to where I could start lifting weights again and exercising. It's so many hidden benefits for me personally. My levels were like 200 something when they tested me. I should have been 1,000 at that point, you know? And so I know young men in their 20s that are getting tested that have 250 to 300 milligram levels of testosterone when they should be at 1,200 at their age. So whether we're doing it to ourselves somehow, whether it's the plastic in the bottles, whether it's the chemicals in our water, whether it's the environmental factors in the air, trust me, we are turning young men into little girls. We are killing off their man juice, their testosterone. And it's a shame because men that don't have enough testosterone have a very hard time living up to being masculine men. They just don't know what they don't know. And so I always encourage, if you have sons who are lethargic and can't get out and have gained a lot of weight and all that, have them checked. Now here's the scary thing, right? If you haven't had kids yet and you're a man and you take a lot of testosterone, it's going to kill your sperm production eventually. No one wants that, right? Especially if you want to have more kids. Now, at my age, when I finally started it, my kid days were gone. Doctor had snipped that and figured that one out early on. But for these younger guys, there's other things like HCG and there's other things that they can take, like Clomid, some of the female fertility drugs and stuff that can increase their testosterone without having to take testosterone and worry about losing their fertility. But that's just one of those things that I like to mention to everybody. I guess the biggest thing is this is a lifestyle that's a possibility for some people and they make it work because it's just fun for them. It's not a prescription for everybody. It's not how you're going to live your life necessarily. But if two people are committed to making the effort and continuing to put in that effort and not get lazy and complacent, it just gives you this framework, as I mentioned earlier, this set of tools that you can use to have the happiest life that you possibly might have together, to have fulfillment, to have the intimacy, to know that you can say anything to that person and they're not going to make fun of you. You can trust that they're going to listen to what you have to say. They may not agree with you, but they'll be kind about disagreeing with you. It has been a fantastic way, and I have seen many, many, many marriages saved by this. And I have seen a percentage of those fall apart after 2 years because the guy got lazy. So it's not a guarantee. Both people have to put in the work. But there's guys like me that eventually, girls like you, will eventually push them over to my blog. Hey, read some of this stuff. And there's also sorts of things about masculinity on there. There's things about a little bit of politics here and there every now and then. I just can't help myself. But a lot of Dom sub stuff. And you can search by category. You hit the DS category and all my Dom sub posts will pop up. Steer them over there. There's guys like me out there that want to help. Because a man going into this, if it's your idea and you're bringing it to a guy, he's going to be lost and clueless and not going to have any idea what to do. And so guys like me are out there to help them. And there's good resources. There's couples resources. Friends of ours in Scotland have a place called oh God, I never forget this. Email me. They got a great website that's for both men and women at the same time, and their couples go over there and work on stuff together. But it's just a really, there's a good community out there. There's just not a lot of good resources out there as far as anything that's not sex related. I'm not plugging this, but the title of this talk is also going to be the title of the book that I've got coming out at the end of the year. And it's a cheap book. It's not meant to make a lot of money, but it's meant to cut through the bullshit that's on the internet. Because there's so much of that out there. Some poor guy like me got out there and started research, and luckily I was smart enough to figure out what might work and what might not work, at least initially, and there's a lot of really bad information out there. So with that, let's see if I got anything else here. Yeah, we're texting Curvy. So, thank you. I bet there's probably no questions. Are we ready to take a break? I have hearing aids. You're going to have to speak up, step close to the mic, or I'm not going to be able to understand you.
Can you elaborate on how the Dom-Sub framework aligns with your Christian values?
Yeah. I mean, I'm terrible at quoting scripture. Women, submit to your husband as Christ submits to the church. Husbands, honor your wives in all things. There's a second part of that. Everybody just wants to quote the first part, submit to your husbands, but there's a second part. Husbands, you have to treat your wives good too. I'm paraphrasing. For us, we feel like this is the natural order that God put down thousands of years ago. That men were physically and mentally designed to lead. I know that's going to be a trigger to somebody in here, but that's okay. It's what I believe. And that women were meant to make things nice, meant to follow, meant to take care of the home and the kids. And I think it just goes back to the way things were. In my old school, yes. In my tradcon, not necessarily wouldn't say I'm a tradcon, but I guess I probably am a little bit. I just hate the word, hate the label. I hate labels. I hate them. Some people would say this is how your grandparents lived. And not everybody's grandparents were happy. You know, maybe your great-grandparents if you're really younger. But generally, 50s lifestyle, head of household, I've heard it referred to a lot of different ways. For us, it's Dom-Sub. I hate labels. It's just who we are and how we live. And I see nothing in my own study of Christianity and my own beliefs, or she in hers, that sees any conflict in that. Sex was supposed to be fun. We make babies. Supposed to have, God made sex pleasurable so we would do it and populate the earth. And we don't swap, we don't share, we don't participate in anything like that, because we believe that men and women are designed to be married and monogamous. That when you stray outside of that and you try to do three-ways, you try to go do some other group activity, invariably it causes a wedge in the relationship. And almost everybody we know that did like a three-way, brought another guy in and brought another girl in, their marriages are now over. It didn't work. It's not worth, well, they say the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So.
All right, that's it for me.
And if y'all have any questions from our girl, email me. I'll pass them over to her. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, one more? Okay, I don't hear so good. I admit it.
Fine, thank you for doing this text. I appreciate you. How do you, well, maybe I'll make it more general. How do men view submission, and how is it different than how women view submission, and the way that we communicate and making sure that we're both communicating that we want the same things?
It's going to depend on the guy, right? The man. He doesn't know what it is. You're going to have to explain it to him, probably. Most men think, oh my God, I'm going to get blowjobs every night. Yeah, let's go, right? Pardon my being so crude. That's the crudest thing I said today. Thought I was going to get away from here without making a crude term like that. Men don't have a clue. They don't know what they're doing. Even if they're biblical, they don't really understand completely what that means.
I've picked up on that.
Okay. Okay, you want to, did I answer it wrong?
No, I said I was agreeing with you when you said that
you.
men don't seem to have a clue, because in my experience, I think it triggers a lot of worthiness issues in guys when you give them things in a state of submission.
The problem is we've all taught to be equal, right? We split the chores, we do this, and there's no sexual attraction anymore because we're all trying to do the same jobs around the house. We're splitting everything up. And I think most guys don't understand what submission is, because, or if they've seen 50 Shades, they think it's that, right? And it's just, that's a completely skewed, screwed up, nothing but chick porn in my mind. So, but when I give a presentation similar to this, it's a lot less touchy-feely when I do it for the guys. But I don't shy away from the fact that I love my wife, and that I'm monogamous, and that I take care of her, and she's my greatest. Those guys hear that same message, don't get me wrong. But I also explain to them what their job is, and how if they want their girl to be submissive to them, there's things they have to do. There's first steps. I kind of blew past that a second ago, but bringing the idea up and talking about it is a wonderful thing. Now when a guy says, how do I bring this up to my girl? I'm like, man, has she watched 50 Shades? You see into all that stuff? I said, that might be an opening, but just realize that that's kind of screwed up stuff. And he's like, well, that, or you could talk about living in the old days where great-grandparents, man was in charge, woman followed, and they had roles that they were able to explore who they really were. I got ways of helping guys, but I say you can't just walk up to her, hey, I went to this meeting and this text guy was talking about flogging and I want you to be my sub and this, that, and the other. And I said, she's gonna laugh at you and walk away or scream and run, one or the other, you know?
So then how does like a woman initiate those kind of conversations without then kind of putting herself in like the leadership position?
I would guess that if she's bringing that up, things are pretty broke at that point, or she really wants them to get better. And I think you could always say, hey, you know, I've been reading online that there's this thing called dominance and submission, and it's going to sound a little weird, just like I explained it to you. But some people live their lives this way. It's kind of like your grandparents lived, you know, maybe. And, you know, do you think I could just turn over control of everything here in the house to you? That's scary as hell, isn't it, right? You're going to give your man all the control as far as paying the bills and making sure everything's done and making sure, you know, things are handled correctly. And that's a trust issue that has to take time. But I mean, to be able to walk up to him and to tell you what works really well, a glass of wine, no kids in the room, kids at grandma's maybe, glass of wine, a little soft music playing late in the evening. That's a good time to bring that subject up.
Interesting.
That's all the time we have.
Thank you.
Give it up for Texas Dom.
Thank you.
We could win this war.
We can win this war.
Okay, well, joining us from Orlando, Florida, is the man in that clip, Anthony Dream Johnson, who says he wants to abolish feminism and make women great again.
No, but it also says, with a trademark, make women great again for women. Always great.
Make women great again.
But they're going to do a 3-day seminar for women led by all men.
In mansplaining news, a 3-day conference for women led by men hopes to make women great again.
How the 22 convention will make you the greatest you ever. Raise your femininity by 500%.
First of all, how is a man supposed to tell a woman how to be the ultimate woman?
But women need to be taught how to be great again. Not my words.
We do.
Like how to land a husband, how to lose weight, how to pop out a bunch of kids.
Why do men think they need to fix the problems of women?
Well, it says the world's ultimate event for women.
Yeah, Orlando, Florida, that's going to be the scene of the crime. It's mansplaining palooza, and say no to the toxic bullying feminist dogma.
Taught by men to make women great again.
Taking the stage now is the founder of the 22 convention. You're in for a treat, Mr. Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
Anthony Dream Johnson.
The first president of the manosphere.
It's run by all men, which promises to, quote, make women great again. This course is guaranteed to raise your femininity by 500%.
Together, we will make women great again. Excuse me, I'm mansplaining here. She said there's nothing